This is chapter number 11, The Making of the National Movement. From 1870s to 1947, what are the different events? What are the different happenings with the perspective of the national movement, Indian national movement before our freedom? So, this is all we are going to see. Already we know that how British conquered the Indian territories and they took over various kingdoms, different bhubhag or land. They introduced certain new laws. There were different administrative institutions they established. How the lives of peasants, the farmers, the kisans, and the tribals, the Adivasis, it changed. And in the 19th century, educational changes, condition of women, what happened or what were the challenges, caste system, social and religious reforms, that is, religiously and socially, how does things change for betterment or worse? And then the first actual sound of freedom was the revolt of 1857 and how the craft of India declined and industries grown. So these are certain pictures showing British rule in India, the first one. And the second one, we are going to talk about Indian National Congress a lot. And this Congress, these are the people basic building block of our nation. And they started with the movement and then they gave us the freedom. And after 75 years, they have made us this country where we are. So that is how we are going to discuss them. The history is all about what we have to learn about past, event, people, and what happened, good or bad. So in order to start with the basic, this is a picture and this is police tear gas. You see, these are demonstrators of Quit India movement, Angrezo Bharat Chodo, and they are doing movement for it and getting police tear gas in return. Now tell me one thing, who are the people of that country, any country? If you take India, what do you say if you are a person or if you are a citizen, if you are considered as a people of India? Then you are an Indian because you have the control of the resources. You have the access to everything of this land. The person who was or who took birth here, any class, any color, any caste, any creed, any language, any gender, doesn't matter. Every person of this country has all the resources and system access should have. A country has different resources. A country gives various things to the people, and in return, people give back the country many things. The resources and all the systems in the country are meant for that country people, that is, in our case, Indians, right? The problem is that if someone else, the time I'm talking about, Britishers, now they were controlling the resources. They had everything under their control. They were ruling us. The resources which are non-renewable and renewable. Okay, renewable is okay, like water, air. But non-renewable, like the minerals, like the crude oil, like the wildlife resources, fisheries, the water resources, So Indians cannot control it. Rather than controlling, let me tell you, Indians cannot access it. So how can we call Indian? We are Indian because we need resources. But the British are controlling it. So this kind of consciousness, this kind of thought, this kind of understanding, when it came, then people started forming political association that we are Indians and we need to rule this country, or we need the resources of this country. And this started in 1850. The political association were formed, the association which actually were wanting something, asking for something from the satta, from the power. And this 1870 to 1880s is a very important duration. If you remember, 1857, it was the revolt, first revolt, withdrawal. And that was the first landmark of our freedom, our struggle against freedom from the Britishers. And the people who formed this political association between 1870s and 1880s were mainly the lawyers, that is, they were English educated professionals. They were English educated people. So they were mainly lawyers. So you'll say, they are English educated. How can they think about Indians? See, if somebody is talking in Tamil, the other one is also talking in Tamil, it's okay, conversation can happen. What about one is knowing Hindi, other is knowing Tamil? They cannot talk. But when these people knew English, they had the understanding of India, they had the understanding of Britishers. Now they can talk. Now they can ask for the rights, for the freedom, for the resources, for being Indian. That we are Indians, we want to be Indian. We don't want anybody else's interference. So there were various political associations being formed, like the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, the Indian Association, the Madras Mahajan Sabha, the Bombay Presidency Association, and finally, the most important is Indian National Congress, INC. We are going to refer it as Congress. You just see the name, some of the names. This Indian National Congress, it was the main key political association for our freedom. And I need to show you that these were not the only ones. These are all the list of the political and nationalists. Nationalist means, say, Rashtrwadi. Okay? Rajnaitik and Rashtrwadi. So it all started West Bengal, or Bengal you can say, not at that time it was not West Bengal. Bengal. And then Indian National Congress, you see A.O. Hume. I'm going to show his picture just now. And it started, or it initiated in Bengal, the Bombay. Indian National Congress, Bombay. We have Indian National Conference, we have Indian Association. There are so many. Okay? So all these political associations in different years, they were being formed because now people have understanding, Chetana, that we need our freedom. Just take an example of Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. What does Sarvajanik means? Sarva means all, Jan mean people. For all people, that is, they are talking about Indians. Firstly, these all political associations were formed in their area. That is, one in Bengal, one in Maharashtra, one in, say, Mumbai, or say, Madras. Okay? But the main goal, the key idea, the objective was same, because all these consciousness, these different political organizations, they have a key goal. They are thinking about the country. They are not thinking about their, say, local aspect, a local problem. Though they have local problem, that is why they were being formed. But the final is that they want Britishers to be out of this country. The Indians to get what they deserve. The first and foremost idea of all of these is India and people of India should be sovereign. Sovereign means Samprabhu, sovereign. Sovereign, that is a country or an association or any entity can work without any outside interference. That is, Indians, by Indian, for Indian, with Indian, any kind of proposition you can use. That is, no interference. For example, in our case, Britishers. We don't need any external alien foreign interference. That is sovereign. That was the main key idea of everyone, and that is how nationalism started. Nationalism is love for people, love for the country. That is not killing people, not thinking bad of other community or other caste. That is, if you're a taxi driver and you are taking one person to the other destination, you are a nationalist. Okay? If some trees are cutting and you know that this is against the law, that is, taking stand against it is nationalism. You're a computer science engineer making a program that will facilitate the Indians is nationalism. Everything which you do for this country wholeheartedly, thinking that you are doing it what you have learned in a proper way, is nationalism. Right? So Indian people should be empowered to take decisions regarding their internal affairs, internal matters. This is sovereignty. All this dissatisfaction is not created one day. As I said, 1870s and 1880s, why these dissatisfaction, asantosh, why it was so prominent, why it intensified and exponentially grown. First thing, this is step by step I am telling you. First one, Arms Act, 1878. The Arms Act was passed in 1878. Now what this act was saying? This act was saying, just take an example of a Sikh. Now they have 5 Ks, Kesh, Kripan, like this. So Kripan is an arm, a kind of arm. Now this is in their religion. People used to keep the, say, talwars. They used to keep firearms. They used to keep banduk, pistol, revolver. To safeguard themselves, to safeguard them from the wildlife, all these they used to do. Now the Britishers said, no Indian can possess an arm. Come on, what is this? This is taken aback. And this is not all. In same year, they also passed another act that is called Vernacular Press Act. Vernacular Press Act. Now what was this act saying? See, I'll give an example. Now we both are talking, and I say something against you, and you started hitting me, and you almost killed me. Is this a law? Is this a samajdari? Is this logic? If I am saying something wrong, how you should react? You should give logic. You should be calm. Okay, fighting, killing, or grabbing or confiscating is not a solution, never being a solution. So, English and British. Now, if Indian or any Indian person is having a press, you are having a newspaper, magazine, article, even you are printing some flyers or pamphlet. Now, if you write anything against me, that is Britishers, the British were saying, you are an Indian. If you are writing anything against Britishers, anything against us, what we are going to do? I am going to do the same thing which this person did to the other person. I am going to confiscate all the assets and we are going to destroy a printing press. Not like that, I am just saying that basically under law, we are going to confiscate your printing press. Because at that time, having a printing press, that means a huge money. That means a huge money has to be put in so that you can start a printing press. There is only one way. Only through newspaper, through article, people can say something. But now they hit where it hurt the most. Because this was the act against the Indian freedom, Indian press freedom, Indian people freedom. Okay, first 1878 Arms Act, second was the Vernacular Press Act 1878. Now the third one, 1883. Here came the Ilbert Bill. Now this Ilbert Bill was in the favor of Indians. Okay, it was in the favor of Indians. Now there is a British judge, there is an Indian judge. British judge, Indian judge. So in British judge, under British judge, if an Indian say apradhi comes, or English apradhi or English person came, British can take the decision for both of them, whether it is Indian or a European, right? But the Indian judge, he can only take decision in the court of law against Indians. Indian judge is not allowed to take decision against the British or European. That is, British are not allowed to, anybody, if he is caught in something, some act or some case, he will never be tried under an Indian judge. A British will only be tried under British judge. See? So Ilbert Law was saying that now the Indian judge can also try an Indian as well as a British person. That is, any British has done something wrong, the Indian judge can take decision against him. So this was good for Indians. Okay? But the Britishers, the whites, they got very angry and they start protesting. That is, how can an Indian judge can take decision against us? We are Europeans, we are elite class, we are British, we are whites. So the government, it stepped back because of the white opposition. It withdrew, repealed the Ilbert Bill. Okay? Now the Indian got enraged, they got angry. So they said, Britishers, you have done something for us and now you are taking it back. Why this is the case? If a British judge can try Indian and a British, why can Indian judge cannot try a British and Indian? They both are lawyers. They both have learned same thing. Okay? Why is this? And remember, all the different political association formed mainly were lawyers. So the gussa or the dissatisfaction was more. So now here, as I said, all the political associations mostly form in a local level. So these three different say steps or dissatisfaction or dissatisfying bills, it was required now to have a pan-India, all-India institution, all-India political association. So there was the need, people thought that we need a pan-Indian political association or an association. And just because of this thought, this dissatisfaction, Indian National Congress was established. So 72 delegates from pan-India, all over India, they met at Bombay, present-day Mumbai, in December 1885. Most of them, the lawyers, and most of them elite people, known people, respected people. Right? Let me tell you again. 1885, 72 delegates in Mumbai, they created Indian National Congress. So the initial people, here you see Dada Bhai Nauroji Sahab, Dada Bhai Nauroji. There were other people, Firoz Shah Mehta, Badruddin Tayyabji, W.C. Banerjee, Surendranath Banerjee, Ramesh Chandra Dutt, S. Subramaniam Iyer. These are just few names. We are talking about 72 delegates. Okay? So they put the first block of Indian National Congress. Most of them you can see by the name from Bombay and Calcutta. One of the important person was Dada Bhai Nauroji. Basically, Nauroji was a businessman, but he was also a publicist. That is, advertising and Vigyapan, all these things he used to do. So he was settled in London. He was already settled in the UK. Okay, and he was also, for the short time, he was the member of British Parliament as well. So you can see the respect, you can see the eliteness of the people who formed this Indian National Congress. And then he guided the all younger nationalists at that time. The young nationalists means those people who need to understand what nationalism means, right? This is how the thing started. There is one more person we need to highlight is A.O. Hume, Alan Octavian Hume. A.O. Hume, he was not Indian. He was a retired British official. A.O. Hume was a retired British official. And he also played a very vital key part in creation of this Indian National Congress. Actually, he brought all these Indians together, these 72 delegates, and he was the key person of INC, Alan Octavian Hume. So there are many names which we'll talk about. Let me tell you again, he is Dadabhai Naoroji, he is A.O. Hume. These two people you need to remember. Remember 1885, Mumbai, 72 delegates, Congress. Because of all these problems, all these acts which were deadly against the Indian people, especially against the freedom and expression of the Indians. A nation in the making. So how does our India starts being Indian? See, Indian National Congress, initially for 20 years, they were very moderate. As I said, 1885, just add 20. So for first 20 years, till 1905, Congress were very moderate. The objectives and the methods, the techniques, the thoughts they have were very moderate, not very, I must say, very arrogant or kind of krantikari, revolutionist. They don't have that kind of thought. The objectives and method were very simple. They wanted or they demanded that in the administration, the government administration, put more Indians. That is, in British rule, they wanted more Indians participation, though more Indians to be recruited or to be nominated or to be elected. They wanted the legislative councils, the Vidhan Parishad. They wanted in this legislative councils, they are being made, but they are not given power. First, give power to these legislative councils. And also, there were certain places where still legislative councils were not there. So they demanded that this legislative councils can be or it should be introduced in the various the provinces which we call today as states, where they are not there. Okay? And all the higher positions in the British rule, all the whites were there. So they wanted that in the higher position, we want Indians. We want people of Indian origin who understand India. We want them to be high position. IAS, Indian Administrative Service, UPSC, every Indian prepares for it or thinks for it. It was called as ICS earlier, Indian Civil Services. Do you know where the exams were held? It was in London. It was in the capital of UK. At that time, today also you cannot go to UK easily. At that time, how can people go to UK? So they said, please do these exams here. Try to hold this exam here in India. So all these Indianization demand were basically against racism. Because it was racism all over. The Indians and the whites, there were different people in terms of British rule. So it was against racism. Because the important position, the important job, it was all monopolized by, it was all taken over by, it was all held by the white officials, the Britishers. Okay? What Britishers will think that these Indians, we cannot give them the positions of responsibility. They are not learned, they have different thoughts, they have different culture, tradition, all these things they have in mind. So we cannot give them this responsibility task. They won't be able to do it. We are the people who will do it. So, one more thing was happening. A British official, Viceroy, Governor General, all these officers, army and administration officers, what they were doing? What they were doing? They were taking the salary. They were in big positions. They will send most of the part of the salary, almost 75%, to UK. They'll send all the salary to UK. So all the money they are earning in India is going to UK. So the money draining is going on. They are earning here, they are sending it to UK. Right? If you give jobs to Indians, if there are Indians in the government, then those people, the money will remain here. Why would Indian money go to some alien foreign country who is ruling us in a bad way, not in a good way? This was other thing. Right now we have judiciary and executive as pillars of democracy. That is the Nyayapalika and the Karyapalika. Right? We have Nyayapalika, Karyapalika and one more legislative, that is Vidhayika. These are the three pillars of democracy right now. But at that time, the Nyayapalika and Karyapalika, that is the judiciary and the executive, they were together. That is, though there is no separation of judiciary and executive. And they also asked for the repeal of Arm Act. They want this Arm Act to be abolished. That is, they wanted more freedom for speech, for expression, that is the Vernacular Act that was there. So they want more freedom for Indians, because why can't an Indian can speak in India? So repeal means to undo a law, to officially end the validity of something which has been made as a law. For example, we have CAA, we have the agriculture law, Krishi Kanun, 3 agriculture Kanun has come, and most of the farmers are against this law. So what the government can do, it can just repeal those, discuss it again, and it can, floor it again in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, right? So this is what is called repeal. I'm just giving an example, right? As I told you, the Congress was formed with elite people, but they raised economic issues. They said that this is the British rule who has led the problems of India, that is the poverty, the famines. This is caused because of the British rule. They were saying that the amount of land revenue, the kar, the taxes they have put on people, either it is a peasant or a zamindar. And what they are doing is, whatever grain is produced here, they are sending it to Europe. So when you are sending the grain to Europe, what will Indian people eat? There is always a food shortages. So this is what Indian Congress demanded. And they said the revenue has to be cut. Most of the money you are putting it into military expenditure. You need to curtail that expenditure. And the irrigation. Why they were asking for funds for irrigation? Please understand, we are an monsoon region. Indian agriculture and Indian agriculturists and the peasants and farmers, they are dependent heavily on the monsoon. If monsoon fails, the crop will fail. What do we eat? And the main thing is salt tax. You are putting tax on salt, and you are taking, you have all the control of this salt. That is production and distribution. The forest dwellers, the people who belong to the forest, you have made all the laws against them. Now they cannot enter the land they were born to be in. So what you see here is that, as I said, Indian National Congress, people think that it is a elite class, educated class, lawyer class. But the Congress is asking or demanding for everyone, even the poor, even the middle class, even the upper class. So the Congress was asking about everything, demanding about everything, right? See, these moderate leaders, they had a different method or technique. They just wanted that everyone should be aware how this injustice is carried out by British. That is, the British rule is unjust. They cannot give you nyaya, they cannot give you justice. They were writing in a newspaper, they were writing articles, they were trying to show that the economic ruin or economic problem, the poverty, people are dying of hunger. This is just because of the Britishers. They were criticizing the Britishers in their speeches wherever it happens. And they also sent the representative, the Congress representative went to each nook and corner of India just to mobilize the public opinion, just to tell them that the Britishers, what they are doing, you need to know, you need to stand against them with us. Because the freedom and justice will only come when we rule or we are there. Britishers cannot. Okay? And British should understand our demand and follow our demand. Freedom is birthright. People were moderate in Congress earlier, but now came the different thought, Lal Bal Pal. We'll talk about them in the next discussion. And then thank you so much. Take care of yourself.